Haley, welcome to the show.
Hello.
I'm so excited. We were just chatting before we were on air, and I found out something that I didn't know about you, that you are a native Arizona girl. That's like so hard to come by.
I'm like, who really stays in like 118 degrees summers on purpose? It's me.
Yes, that and I feel like everyone I've ever met here is a transplant. So it's just bizarre. And you said you're actually married to a native Arizona guy as well.
I know we're like the double unicorn that it just does not happen. And he would probably move anytime. Honestly, if I was like, let's move somewhere else, I think he would be down. But I'm just like, I'm good. My,
Yeah.
my roots are deep around here.
Oh, I get that. Before we get into all like the juicy content about why we're actually doing this episode, I have to ask you because we have now lived here for a few years and we have not stuck around in the summer. We continue to leave every summer. What's the trick? How do you stay?
Girl, inside and swimming pools. I feel like when you were a kid, I feel like you're just so much more resilient to weather, like cold and heat, where even my kids were just going swimming like a couple weeks ago at their grandma's house. And I was like, girl, it's 60 degrees in that pool. I'm not trying to get you sick. But I just think feel like there's so much more resilient. And then as we get older, we're just like, a bunch of sissies. But yeah, I think it's just like being okay with suffering through raging APS bills and just
Yep.
blasting your air conditioning and or swimming. I feel
Yeah.
like that. Well, now cold plunging is really popular. So you could also incorporate that into your repertoire to try to really pull that body.
Perfect. Got it. So
Yeah.
I'm a sissy. You called me out on air. It's perfect. I love it.
Call a spade a spade.
I love it. All right, let's get started. So you have 3 kids, which is crazy, and you have like 100 businesses, and you seem to just do it all. What's the secret? How do you do it? Like, what are you eating for breakfast?
I'm like, I don't even know some days. Yes, I have 3 girls. They are 10, 7, and 4. They are absolutely crazy, amazing lunatics. And yeah, I have 2 businesses and I'm actually launching a podcast in January, which I'm super excited about.
Do we have a
Um,
name?
we do. It's called the Serial Connector.
Ooh.
And yes, I am so, so excited because obviously I needed one more thing to do in my life. I think for me, honestly, it's like being super intentional for the last couple of years about finding things that really fuel me rather than drain me. So even though I am super busy, it's all doing stuff that I freaking love to do. And so it's fine. It's like a good busy, like
Yeah.
hashtag things. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Hashtag blessings. I love it. What do they say? Pressure is
Diamonds are formed under pressure.
no, different quote. I
Mm,
can't think of it right now. It's a privilege. Pressure is a privilege.
true.
Right? It's like that overwhelm. It's like it's a privilege to have all these things. So let's go back for 1 second because I'm obsessed with the name. When I think of you, I think of community. When I think of you, I think of networking. I think of bringing people together. That's exactly what I think of. You are one of the people out there who is constantly edifying others, always sharing what other women are doing. And both of your businesses are rooted in that community piece. So
The serial connector.
the
Yeah.
serial connector. Like
Mhm.
that's like the subtitle under your name when I think of you. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 2 different businesses because you have a community-based business and then you have a coaching-based business. So break those down real quick.
Yeah. So the coaching business is my solo business. It's called the West Collective. And it was really born out of my like 1.0 era life, married with my 2.0 era life. Without getting into the muddy details, I spent about 2 decades in corporate leadership prior to becoming an entrepreneur, leading small teams, big teams, everything in between, operational and strategic initiatives. Became an entrepreneur, really tapped into my creative being and all of my things that I love about connecting people and really serving in a different capacity for small business owners. So now I coach other business owners to grow and scale their business and bottom line through community and connections. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a firm believer we are one connection away from the absolute catalyst that will transform the future of our business. You just have to be willing to put yourself in the room, literally, metaphorically, figuratively,
Yeah.
all things. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and cultivate those relationships. The hustling for cold leads is not the jam.
So
It's not
let's
the
stop
jam.
there for 1 second because I believe the exact same thing. I'm all for it. Everything that I have today has come from one connection, one introduction, one person. Is getting in the room, and I say getting in the room in quotes, is getting in the room enough? Like, can you just be a silent observer in the room, or is there an actual tangible tactical, like you have to ask for help, you have to admit you're wrong, you need to raise your hand, you need to ask for ask a question during an event, or is just getting in the room enough?
I don't think getting in the room is enough. I think, right, we pay for
All of our introverts just rolled their eyes.
immediately. No, please don't make me do it. I don't think getting in the room is enough. I think it is, I always tell people the analogy of like a tree with roots, like strong roots run deep, not wide. And so if we want to create that infrastructure that is really going to sustain not only like the viability, but the growth of our business, we have to be willing to create those really deep rooted foundations. And that is formed by cultivating relationships with people. So I always tell people, I want you to get out of your head where more is better. That isn't always the case, right? In some cases, sheer math, yes, volume may be better. But if we're talking about the sustainability and growth of your business, I would far rather someone go to a networking event, have conversations with 3 people, but really get to know them as a human, something they're excited about, what they're working on, how they can support them, and like actually do it rather than pass out 100 business cards. Girl, no one's going to remember. They're going to throw your business card in the trash and no one's going to remember you. So no, I do think just getting in the room is the first step. And I think it's a very necessary step, especially for our introverts listening. Like if that is a huge step for you, do that first. But if you really, really want to see the magic that can come from it, to all the things that you said, being willing to serve, being willing to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to be a resource for others, those are really where the magic happens. And that is how you become memorable for people.
So good. Okay. So we have the coaching side of things really coming from a lot of your background of corporate leadership, which I'm sure there are so many things we could talk about there, because I'm curious too, how much of corporate leadership and community building and communication and leveraging relationships did you learn in like a corporate setting? And how much of it did you learn by witnessing what it is that you were actually seeing happening in corporate?
Yeah, honestly, both. So it's funny because I have a master's in leadership. And when I went to choose my master's program, I was like, oh, MBA is the obvious choice. And then I looked at like, all the classes and I'm like, accounting, finance, like I already know how to do that. I don't want to learn it anymore. And I was like, I just love people. Like I literally just love people. So it's so ironic that it's like, that's the path that I chose. I think corporate taught me a lot more about what people do wrong, to be perfect.
Interesting.
Like, I think that I saw my ability to create a different experience for people. I think I personally experienced a lot of poor leadership and a lot of lack of community and buy-in and really siloed functioning where people were in their cubes, either figuratively or literally doing the work, and we really weren't functioning in a cohesive unit. And then I saw on the flip side in other spaces that it was doing really well. And when I lost my job, that's how I stumbled into entrepreneurship, was after a position elimination. And I was like, I don't even know who my people are. I literally was like, my work homies, like my people who I hung out with, I don't have that anymore. And I'm like, who do I hang out with? I don't know who my community is. And so I had to do a lot of work to create that because I wasn't finding it. And I was able to see the impact that could create for people through collab culture, which is a community that I founded with one of my very best friends. And we've been able to just see this like tidal wave of impact. And we're like, this is it. Like, this is when we see people in the wild, doing life together outside of our community. That's when we know this is something different, because again, roots run deep rather than wide.
Perfect. So this other business, second business, first business, whatever you want to call it, we have coaching on one side, and then the other business, collab culture, which I've been so privileged to be able to come to. It was such an honor to be able to be there. And I'm so excited because I get to speak at it coming up. Who is collab culture really for? Just give us kind of the background of this community for female founders. Is it only entrepreneurs? Are they beginning stages? Is it for everybody? What does that look like?
Yeah. So collab culture was honestly founded out of a personal need. Stephanie and I were really craving something. And we were like, you know what, we're just going to make it because we can't find it. So we're going to make it. Hopefully a couple people want to hang out with us and we'll go for coffee. We put it together and launched it. And 72 hours later, 45 people had signed up. And we were like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, I guess we're not meeting in Stephanie's living room. I mean, we could, but also it might be tight.
Do you credit that to really good messaging? Do you credit that to having a big social media presence? Or do you credit that to just like, wow, other women really wanted it?
I think it was messaging and just us really being willing to like put ourselves out there and be the one to take the leap. Because I think there were so many people that wanted it, but they just couldn't conceptualize what that would actually look like. And so it was like when someone else was willing to do it, they were like, yes, please sign me up. I want that. So at the beginning, to answer your question, we didn't have like an ICA per se. We were like,
ideal client avatar.
Oh, sorry. Ideal client avatar.
I just want to make sure, right? That's what you meant. Okay.
Yes. If you were a early stage founder, experienced, if you were a professional, like maybe someone working as like a loan officer, a real estate agent, you work for someone else, but you're really like solely commission based. We were just kind of like, who wants to come hang out with us? This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And now it's evolved. We currently have about 140 active members. And it's so interesting because we have people, you're like conceptionary dreamers that are like, I don't even have a business, but I just want to be in the room because I want to be in this energy. I want to learn. I want to soak in all the things. I want to be willing to put myself out there. We have those, and we have your multi 7-figure, 150 employees, you know, multiple brick and mortar locations and everything in between. So I would say kind of the bread and butter for Collab is probably your 0 to 3 year entrepreneur that is wanting education. They have a business, but they're wanting to grow, they're wanting to scale, they're wanting to learn, they're wanting to create better efficiencies and grow their network. That's probably like our bread and butter. But we also have like, we have people who have had businesses for 20 plus years. Like we literally have everything in between.
And the main stuff that you do, the main offers that you have in Collab Culture are?
We have a membership. So we meet every week. We do hybrid format. So we do a virtual networking, we do an in-person coffee and connections, we do a virtual workshop, and then we do an in-person kind of hybrid workshop / networking, which you're coming to speak at in January, which I'm so excited. So that is our meeting schedule. We have an online community, and we have our web directory that they get their business listed on our forward-facing website. So that's like our kind of traditional format. We also are launching a second tier to our membership called CEO Roundtable in January, which is a higher level tier. So they still get everything in the main membership, but this is really for your 6-figure plus business owners, people that are scaling, people with teams that are just looking for a little bit of higher level topics and higher level conversation that isn't necessarily relevant for everyone. And then we do a mastermind retreat every year, usually like August, September-ish. And that is a more intimate container, about 15 people. So that's how Collab serves people. And it's just been such a cool gift and evolution of something that was like this baby idea. We're like, we should do this. This would be cool. And then we're like, wow, there's a lot of you now. Okay.
Okay, so you have this corporate experience, you have coaching experience, and then you have this full-blown community experience. In all of those different realms, and I'm sure there's many others that you have as well, what would you say, because you kind of alluded to this before, what are some of the biggest misconceptions or mistakes that people make when it comes to community or leadership?
Yeah, I would say the top 2 that I think people get hung up on is getting in this mindset that there's this very prescriptive model of how it has to look. Right. I think we get in this trap with anybody who's an entrepreneur, or, you know, when you're conceptualizing an idea, we automatically compare ourselves to other people and they're doing this and this is successful. So obviously I should be doing that. And that's not the case. I was sharing earlier that I, you know, have this community of like thriving entrepreneurs, and, you know, it's large, and we do have a very, very prescriptive format, but I also have a community of friends I literally met on the internet. There's 3 of them. We have coaching business. We all have coaching businesses and run communities. And we found that common thread. And that's just as much community as Collab is. It's just in a different capacity. So I think that's a big mistake I think people get hung up on, is like the way it should look. And they're overlooking opportunities to participate or create in it because they have this picture in their mind. The other thing I would say is people thinking it's about them. Because it's not about you. Like, it's not your fan club friend.
When you say you or them, is that the founder and the leader that you're referring to, or is that even as a member? Okay.
Yes. So it's not about the leader, the facilitator, the steward, whatever you want to call it. it's not about you. It's actually very little about you. And I think we do ourselves and others a disservice by assuming it is about us, because number one, we put an unrealistic expectation on ourselves that we have to be everything for everyone. And it is not really facilitating like community and turning people inwards towards each other. I used the example earlier of like a movie theater. So if you're in a movie theater and everybody's sitting in rows, we're all sitting next to each other, we're coexisting in the same space, but we're all focused on one thing. We're not creating community, we're not getting to know each other, we're not deepening relationships, there's no connection. You can literally be sitting next to a stranger the entire time and never say a single word. And we're all focused on one thing. But if we think about when you're at a wedding and you get stuck at a table with maybe randoms or maybe people you already know, but you're at a circle and you're facing one another, it's not the bride and groom's job to entertain you. It's your job to entertain each other and to create those relationships and those fun conversations and have the best table at the wedding. And so oftentimes we set ourselves up where we're like, it's about me. Either that creates unnecessary stress on you, or it doesn't allow you to really be aligned with the vision of like how you're wanting to serve people and create that opportunity for them, because they're not going to connect with one another. And then you just have really low engagement. They don't feel bought into the vision of whatever you're cultivating. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. You know, there's so many things that can go wrong. So I think so many things, but I would say those are probably the top two that I see people struggle with the most.
So good. And I love an analogy or a metaphor. So I love the visual of the wedding and the movie theater. How would you sort of rebuttal against someone who says, yeah, but Haley, don't people buy from people? And if I'm the founder, the leader, the facilitator, the priestess, the steward, like you said, then aren't people buying from me?
Yeah. Yeah. I think people do buy for people. And I would be lying if I said, I don't get business from being, you know, the head of collab. Like it's people that know me and I'm visible, and yes, people buy from people, but I'm also, my business partner and I are so conscious. Like we only teach inside our community once a year each. We are not wanting to be at the forefront all the time. Like, yes, at the beginning of a meeting, we're like, hey, the bathrooms are back here. Here's some, you know, cool stuff that we're doing or whatever. But at the end of the day, we want to create a platform for other people to connect with one another. And I think when you offer that, you do become more not reliable, front of mind for people, where they're like, dang, like they're always supporting other people. Imagine how they could be supporting me in my business. Like it just creates that level of trust with other people. So yes, I do think people buy from other people, but I don't think we would have the success that we do as far as cultivating a really, really engaged community if they were only hearing about the cool stuff that I was doing. Because guess what? They don't always need what I'm doing, but they may need what you're doing, or they may need what this other person is doing. And I'm doing a disservice by not allowing them the opportunity to share all of that cool stuff that is, you know, available at their fingertips.
It's so good. Can you give us like 3, not to put you on the spot, tactical things that you do from like the top down to sort of train your community, for lack of a better term, so that they're not just waiting around for you to be the guru or up on the pedestal, aside from something like you said, only maybe presenting once a year, because that does remove you from that sort of guru position. But what are some other things that we can do inside of our communities to really give that top-down approach of like, no, leaders create leaders. Like, I want you to step up.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a little tough love and people don't like necessarily
I like tough love.
hear that. But we always joke when we do opening like housekeeping items or whatever at the in-person meeting, because there is a slide for our member directory. And I'm like, this is the hill I will live and die on. And Stephanie, every time we get to it, she's like, Haley's favorite slide. And it's a screenshot of our member directory and it's a QR code to fill out your form. And I tell people this over and over again. No one is responsible for creating connection for yourself than you. I'm not responsible. Stephanie is not responsible. And you are leaving so much opportunity on the table by not taking that initiative. And people think, oh, it's going to be weird. And I don't want them to think I'm pitching them. And I'm like, just say hi. I don't know, just say hi. And is your business in our directory, right? That's an amazing opportunity. So every single meeting, month after month, we're almost 2 years in, I tell them, if your profile is not updated, that's on you. Here's a QR code, fill it out. If you haven't done one, you're, creating a gap where people aren't seeing you, you're not visible. But I tell them, challenge yourself to go into this resource that we have created and facilitated for you and introduce yourself to 5 people a week. This is not have to be a daunting, overwhelming thing. I will literally give them a script. And I was like, everybody use the same script. Nobody's going to feel weird about it. This is what I want you to say. Hi, Jess. My name's Haley. I'm also in collab. I'm really making an intentional effort on connecting with people in the community on a better level. I'd love to know more about you and what you do, period. You don't have to tell them about you because they're going to ask. That's the natural next question.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing, where just giving people kind of the tough love where they need it, where it's like, again, we're the steward of the community, we're the facilitator, we create the container. That's not up to me. You're a grown up. Like, you can do that on your own.
But you're doing a blend. You do tough love plus here's a script. So there's a safety net.
Yes. So it's like, you need to do it. And here's a tool to go ahead and execute the thing.
Love that.
The next thing that I do is lead with a servant heart. And so, like, serve first. So, we've all been to the networking events where people are pushing business cards. They're pitching you right off the bat. It feels disgusting. You feel pinned in a corner. You can't get out. They're like talking your ear off, and it's the absolute worst. And so I always tell people, if you can serve first, do that. Find out what it is that they need and actually do it. You would be shocked at how many people offer something up, but the follow through is absolute trash. And so I'll challenge them to say, like, hey, when you come to our meetings, make sure you meet someone new, even if it's one person, and ask them, what's one area I can support you in your business right now? Maybe it's sharing their Instagram in your stories. Maybe it's writing a review if you've worked with them before. Maybe it's doing an Instagram live or doing a giveaway together. I don't know. There's 100 million things that it could be. Or maybe they're like, I'm really looking for a new bookkeeper. Do you have a good referral? Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I tell them, if you can lead with a servant heart, that will come back to you tenfold. Like, over and over again, rather than you being like, here's my promo, here's my special, blah, 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 buy this, buy this, buy this. Like, it becomes exhausting, especially with our community so big. It's like white noise. Nobody's going to remember that, but they're going to remember the one person who was like, how can I help serve you at this time? And then the last thing I would say is encouraging consistency. This is one reason why we do not offer an a la carte option for our membership. We have an option for you to drop into a meeting for free, because I do think that has been a game changer for us this year, with people kind of being able to get a taste, get in the room, feel the energy, feel what it's like. But I'm not going to tell you like, hey, you can come whenever you want. It's just going to be more expensive, because again, roots run deep, not wide. And like, you're going to connect with people on a deeper level when you're consistent. So whether you're a participant or you are the facilitator, creating consistency for people allows them to be bought into the vision and actually feel like they're a part of something special, rather than like, oh, that one thing that's on my calendar that I always forget about and maybe I pop into twice a year.
Yeah. Do you give like demerits if people don't show up? Are you taking attendance? Are you reaching out to people if you notice that they haven't been there in 3 months or something like that?
Yeah, we don't like vote you off the island per se. We've had people ask, because there's other shall remain nameless business networking type organizations that have very strict requirements as to what you're responsible for, from referrals, attendance, all of those types of things that are hardcore. And I'm like, you're a grown up. Like, I'm not here to teach you. You're a grown up. Like, you do you. But we do take attendance at our in-person meeting at the end of the month, the one at the sports complex. And I do my best. I know, and Stephanie knows, like, we know the stuff that's going on with people. We know the people going through a divorce. We know the people who are struggling financially. We know the people who are in a custody battle, or, are really dealing with a heavy loss, or, whatever the case may be. And so I try to like use discernment with that and like give people some grace, but we also want people to know like, hey, we see you, we miss you. Like, I you're here. I even work like our check-in table at the meeting because number one, I have an absolute steel trap of memory when it comes to names and faces. So I'll see someone and like welcome them by name and greet them. And that just like feels so good because they feel seen and not like a number. So yes, we do, I would say like asterisk. We do it, but you know, with discernment where there's some people that just have a lot going on and we try to like take it case by case. But yeah, I think it's like holding that account, holding you to the fire a little bit where it's like, we also do exit interviews if people cancel where
love
we
that.
So you can't just auto cancel. You have to like
that.
Email and we have a conversation with them that's like, hey, how is this not serving you at this time? And it's a great opportunity for us to get feedback, but there's also a lot of people that flip their decision because they're like, I actually just needed this. Like, I haven't been showing up and I haven't been doing this and I haven't been doing that. And I know that's not on you. I need to do better. I know the impact this community can create for my business. You know what? I changed my mind. And so like, either way, love you through it. Like we'll love you through it either way. But I think it's really important to have that conversation with people. So again, they don't feel like a transaction because even if they do cancel, offering that opportunity for that conversation may have them come back when they're ready, better aligned for them.
And just also leave with like a really great taste in their mouths. Not that they're necessarily leaving with a bad one, but like you were saying, if someone isn't feeling seen or heard, or maybe they just like really wanted to kind of tell you what was going on, or they have feedback for you, it's such a nice way to kind of put a bow on things. Something that you said too really just stuck out, this consistency piece and sort of holding people to the fire. Equally, when you're talking about a community and when you're buying into a community, you're also signing up and saying, I am willing to be a participant of this community and I'm willing to do my part in that. And so when you're not showing up, not to make anybody feel bad who's listening, especially if you're going through something, but when you do sign up to be a part of a community and you're not showing up, then you're out of integrity and you're not honoring the sort of unwritten code that you signed on to for the other community members, which was that we're all going to be there together to learn from each other, support each other, have accountability, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's important to really take that into consideration when you're creating something that's in alignment for you, because I think sometimes we set these really unrealistic goals and expectations where we're going to do this and we're going to show up this frequency. And like, if that isn't what your people want, or it's not something to your point that you can consistently commit to, then we have to do some internal reflection to go back to say, am I really serving in the best capacity? Is this helpful? Yes or no? And, you know, I think one big thing that's been important to us and in my coaching business too, is like, I'm a real human. I'm not perfect. I don't live in any ivory tower. I am a real human that deals with real things and has real struggles. And I'm fine sharing them and just being really open and honest, because I think that like brings barriers down where people just feel like, oh, they get it. Like, just like us, they just were brave enough to take the leap and create this and teach other people from their mistakes. And so I think you can still be a human being, right? And just like own it when you make a mistake, or own it when you need to make a shift, but letting people be a part of that journey where you like, you know, guys, actually, I set this up and we were going to meet in this cadence, but I really feel like I'm not able to show up for you in the best capacity in that way. So in 30 days from now, I'm going to be changing up the format. And this is why I really want to provide the best experience for you, or getting a little bit creative with different ways that you can serve. But I think it's just like knowing we're human and just figuring out how can you serve in the best way. And, you know, if you're going to take that responsibility, it's a lot of freaking work. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work, but the reward on the flip side in so many different ways is tenfold worth the work it is.
I'm always in the camp also, especially with something like a membership, like a lower ticket community type membership. It's easier to add things on. It's really much more difficult to take things away. So kind of starting with the bare minimum, less calls, less deliverables. And over time, maybe now you have like journal prompts, and then there's the Spotify playlist, and you're doing the in-person and the virtual and this, that, and the other. But I'm definitely in the ilk of like, let's just start with the basics and then see what people really want and need.
It's actually so interesting because we went in reverse. And so we went in 2022 when we launched, we did workshops every week. Literally every week, 3 virtuals and an in-person. And it was literally soul sucking. Number
Yeah.
one, you're trying to find high caliber speakers, right? Like we're a community for business owners. And so we're trying to find high caliber speakers, not rinsing, repeating the same topic over and over again. And the feedback we got when we surveyed our people was like, we actually are not implementing anything
It's
because
too
we're
much.
learning way too much. Have you read the book Retention Point?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Great
So
book.
if you guys have not read it, you have to read it. It's super thin. You can literally read it on a flight to like LA. And it's just really meaty, like tangible things. But one of the things that they talk about in the book is like finding that point to where you're almost providing too much value, where people then get in this like reverse psychology where they're like, oh, but there's so much I'm not taking advantage of.
Yep.
And so like, I just need to cancel it, where you could actually offer like one call a month. And they're like, perfect, that's great. I can commit to that.
Yeah.
So we changed our format coming into 2023 because they're like, we just want to connect more. And we're like, cool, you can do that for free on your own. They're like,
Right.
but like, we want you to facilitate it. And we're like, okay, fair. So we now do a hybrid format, to your point, where now we peeled back,
Mm-hmm.
we had less workshops. We're going to do an in-person and a virtual connection opportunity, and then have just the 2 workshops a month.
Yeah.
And it's been like the greatest shift that we could have made. So I
Yeah.
do like sometimes less is more. And it's like an unnecessary amount of pressure that you're putting on yourself to show up in a way that people are really overwhelmed by.
Yeah. And someone who's overwhelmed isn't going to stick around because subconsciously as humans, then we feel like a failure. And if your product or program or container is making me feel like a failure, putting more on my plate, adding more to-dos, this doesn't feel good. Why am I paying for something like this? So we actually want to get our clients wins. We want to get them transformation as quick as possible. So I love that. Let's shift gears slightly. So we were talking about some misconceptions and mistakes. I'm curious, as someone who's been in community and leadership for over 2 decades, what are some things with community and leadership that grind your gears, like on a personal level? Yeah.
Oh gosh, so many things. Okay, I want to go in person first.
Sure.
One of my biggest irritants in in-person community, and again, take this with a grain of salt, it depends on the format, the frequency, like there's so many things to take into consideration, but is not feeling seen or acknowledged. So in collab culture, I have a business partner. You will almost never see us together at an in-person event. And that is so intentional because we want to cover more ground.
Yeah.
Like or separate, if you will. And so we want to make sure you feel welcome, feel seen. If we see someone sitting by themselves, like we want to bring them into a conversation with somebody else, because nothing's worse than walking into a room and feeling like, you're the sorority sister from out of town and nobody knows you. Or just like you don't belong. Like it's an instant turnoff for me, where I'm like, especially if I've gone to events for like the same group more than once, and like nobody from the organization has said hello to me one time, that is like really bothersome to me, because I just feel like that is not, like, I'm just a ticket at that point.
Yep.
Like I'm not saying like I need you to be my best friend and take me to dinner later, but also like if I've come more than once and no one's acknowledged me a single time, even hello, that's like a turnoff for me. I also think like leaders in community that are constantly selling is exhausting to me. I think your community is an absolute vessel for you to be selling a crap load, right? For you to be a resource, a go-to for them. But if you're always selling and you're never serving, that to me is like very cringe. Like, absolutely talk about what you do and the immense amount of value that you have. Like, I always think about like your stuff when you're doing like free master classes and you do like DBE live, like the amount of value you give for free to me is like, holy crap. If she gives away this much for free, I can't even imagine the potency of her paid offer. Like, this is crazy. And so I think it's like, we can give people like a taste of what we do, but like, I don't want to hear about your sales pitch 24/7. Like, I want to know what you like to do for fun. I
Yeah.
want to know about how I can support you in your business or what is important to you and those things. And so I think that to me, again, I've been to things before, both online and in person, and it's like the person's always selling, like
Yeah.
always 24/7. And it's just like, meh, kind of
Yeah.
not the greatest. I feel like those are the two things that kind of like stick out to me the most. I'm just such like a connector and like relationship builder,
A serial connector.
real connector, that I just think like, I'm going to give a little and it's like, I'm going to get so much in
Yeah.
return. Like
Yeah.
us being willing to be that person to serve first. And like, everyone's not a sale and that's okay. But like, if you serve them, their best friend might be a sale or their sister or a former colleague, and you just become front of mind for them. You become the expert in your field and that go-to resource. And they're like, oh, also, I trust her and she's a friggin' dope human and she's so amazingly helpful and selfless and all these things. And so it's like, not only is it your business's bomb, but like your credibility on a human level is even better. And that makes the sale a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like people don't buy from you because they're like, oh, she has a shiny offer called fill in the blank and I absolutely need it. They buy from you because they're really connected with you as a human and the transformation you can provide for them in their life or their business.
Yeah. I echo this 10,000%. I'm like, put it on repeat. Let's do it again, rewind, play it again, make it louder. Because this is something that comes up, especially a lot in the coaching industry, this fine line between how much do you give away for free. And I've always been in the camp of give it all away for free, because I look at it and I'm like, first of all, it's not mine. I've learned it somewhere else. Nothing is proprietary, just the way that I teach it is. Second of all, it's Googleable. Someone can find it on Google, YouTube, whatever. Third, if you have a solution to a problem, I believe it's your responsibility to share it with the world. Otherwise, you're literally robbing people of the opportunity for transformation.
Totally.
And then I always use the analogy of concerts. It's like you can get music on the internet for free. You can go to Pandora and Spotify and all these things for free, but we spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on concert tickets. And so why do we spend money on tickets when we can get the music for free? It's like, well, we want the experience. We want to be in the energy. We want to meet the other people. We want to get dressed up, this, that, and the other. And so for me, I'm like, my content, like, of course I'm going to give it away for free with no expectation of getting something back. Right. And I think expectations is huge. You and I were talking about it a little bit before. So as we start to kind of put a bow on things, as a community member, how can I use expectations to my advantage when walking into a room? Because we both know that expectations equal experience. So what would you say when being a community member, or maybe being the business owner and the facilitator, how can we utilize expectations of different rooms in a way that's really going to get us the best outcome?
I love this question so much. When I was on that mastermind trip in California a couple months ago, I was talking to a girlfriend about this and I was like, I am in multiple communities and I have very different expectations from every single one of them, but I am so in alignment with it where I really, really know why I'm here and who the people are that I'm connecting with. Right. So I think it starts by really getting aligned with like why you're even there in the first place. Am I here to create leads? Am I here for support? Am I here for mentorship? Right? They're all going to look widely different. And so I'm not going to go into, I don't know, we'll say like a high ticket mentorship container necessarily looking for clients, right? I'm looking for
Right.
growth, accountability, expansion. I'm looking for all of those things. If I get clients, great. But if I don't, that's not why I was there in the first place. And so I actually created like a freebie around this for the 3 steps to networking with purpose. And one of the things is anytime you say yes to a commitment, running it through this filter and really asking yourself, why am I here? What is the goal? Is this in conflict with any of my boundaries? So whether that's time, energy, money, like whatever those are, and it might be, and you may still say yes anyways, but you're at least running it through. So you're not just saying yes to everything and not knowing why. And then really understanding like, what is my homework? I like give myself an assignment because it can become like social real,
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I'm going to offer to help, 2 people, or I'm going to ask this question that I've really been wrestling with to 3 people because I don't know what the answer is. And I'm hoping somebody else can glean better light on this. Or I'm going to talk about this new offer that I've been shying away with sharing with at least one other person so I can get more comfortable in my pitch. Like whatever those are, I think it's like getting really, really specific every time you step into any kind of a community, whether it's online or in person, of understanding why you're even there, who are the people in the room, and like, what's your homework? Like,
Yeah.
what is the thing? So you can actually walk away and do something with that. And that could look, again, so widely different depending on the room, depending on the season of business that you're in. So I do it literally like habitually, like
Yeah.
every single time. And I go to a lot of events and a lot of things, but I am very crystal clear on every single one of them, why I'm there, how it serves me, how I serve within it, and like what are my tangible things that I'm holding myself responsible for.
Such easy, tangible,
Totally.
intentional, like intention setting. So you're an advocate for being in multiple types of communities and rooms at the same time, if they're all serving you for the different reasons.
Yeah, I think if you can be really present, I think we oftentimes, we talk about like course hoppers, like people, course collectors, if you will,
Yeah.
like people who buy all the courses, but they don't actually do them instead of really spending the time to find one that's in alignment with what they actually need right now. And I think it's the same thing. So it's like more isn't always better,
Sure.
but I do think that there's value in putting yourself in different circles. So like I facilitate a community, but my energy is expended in a completely different way as a facilitator than as an active participant in other people's communities.
Yeah.
I want to be in communities where I can shine light for other people, but I also want to be in communities where others are shining light for me that are further ahead and are challenging me to grow, challenging me to think outside the box, being willing to ask me the hard questions that other people who are maybe behind me are intimidated to ask. And so I do think as long as you're in alignment and understanding what you need and how you can serve, I totally think, I mean, I like off the top of my head, I can probably think of like 5 that I'm a part of.
Yeah.
Again, this is like literally what I do for a living. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a normal volume, but I think for anyone, like even if it's like 2 or 3, like think about how they can serve you in different ways and challenge yourself to kind of, it's like a sampler platter. It's like a beer, a wine flight.
Wine flights. I'm in a community flights. I love
Right.
it. But it's also, like you were saying before too, the course collector, right? We all know those people. We all do it with freebies. We're the freebie collectors, and then they just sit and collect digital dust. This stuff doesn't work through osmosis. You can't just download it. You can't just pay the $20 a month and expect to get anything out of it. So the intention is so important. You briefly mentioned this 3 steps to networking with purpose sort of training or guide or something that you do have. Is that something that we can get our hands on?
Oh yeah, totally. I'll send you the link. It's a super easy, I think it's like a 6-page PDF.
Yay.
I'll send you guys, we'll put it in the show notes and you can access it. Super, super tangible, just really easy things that you can put in place and just create habits to create more lasting impressions with people and just really be a conscious networker instead of just like going, but then you walk away and you're like, what just happened? Where was I? Or did I do anything other than spend money and time away from my family that I probably didn't need to do? Yeah. You guys can totally have it. I'll send you the link.
Awesome. Thank you. What else do you have going on before we get into some rapid fires? So we've got this incredible free PDF that we're going to have, but what else do you have coming up? What's exciting? What's new aside from this brand new podcast coming out? Where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about all your different offers?
Yeah, so many exciting things. So I hang out mostly on the gram over at the Haley Westfall. It's West like the direction, fall like fall down. Don't put a P in it. Don't fancy it up. It's just Westfall. So the Haley Westfall is my Instagram. I've also recently revived my LinkedIn. So if you want to go find me over there, that would be appreciated because, we're trying to knock the dust off from our corporate life. As far as stuff that I'm doing, I have so many exciting things coming up. I'm so freaking pumped about. I do host a free series of community builders calls. So if you guys are listening and you are interested in just having more of this conversation, they're completely free, no strings attached. There's one for your aspiring and early stagers. There's a separate call for your established and more seasoned community builders. And this could be through any way that you're doing it, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through a super potent email list, whether it's through cultivating a physical community, an online community, and everything in between. You guys are welcome. Dudes are welcome on those calls too. So I don't think there's enough conversation for men around cultivating community. So it's been really cool. We've had some guys that have been coming and it's been so fun. So I'll include the link for that as well in the show notes. I'm also, if you guys are local to Arizona, I'm hosting a dinner series called The Table. It is an intimate dinner series for both aspiring and established community builders. We have headshots on site that are included. We do dinner, we do some networking, and we do some really cool conversations around how to leverage community as an extension of your business. So at the very least, you'll meet some new biz besties and get a fresh headshot. So there's no loss. There's no loss there. So those are monthly. If you go over to my Instagram, there's a link in my bio where you can join the wait list for those. And then last but not least, I was like, this isn't even physically launched to the public yet, but I have recently launched a group coaching program called People to Profit. I am so freaking excited. I've honestly never felt more aligned with the framework for a program that I've created. And this is just everything that I wanted and more. I'm so excited. I actually launched it last week at our table event, and we'll be doing a pre-launch again tonight at the table, and then it will go public later this week. But it is a group coaching program for 3 months that is really teaching you how to grow your business and bottom line through connections and community. Because listen, if you're not making money, you just have an expensive hobby. And it's okay to love people and relationships, but also want to make money, right?
Yeah.
It's not taboo, like that we can have both. And so this group coaching program is so amazing. So keep an eye out on the gram for more information coming on that as well.
I love it. And one more time, the Instagram is
The Haley Westfall.
Perfect. Okay. You ready for some rapid fires?
Yes.
Let's get into it. What is something that people never ask you that you wish they did?
Ooh, I think that what is my favorite thing? Like, what is my favorite role that I fill? I think that I oftentimes, especially when you're a mom, I think it's really easy to get caught up in always being the mom. I actually had a conversation with people about this recently, and it was like, do you ever go to dinner with your spouse if you're a parent and not talk about your children? And so I think that it's not even necessarily what is my favorite thing that I do, but it's like, what do I do for me? I guess is a better way to phrase that. And so I think for all your homies out there that are parents, this is your reminder that they're more than a mom or a dad. So ask them about the other things that they're excited about, or the things that they're working towards, or things like that, because parenthood does not define us. It is a great gift, but also we are more than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to ask you that now. So what would your answer be? What do you do for Haley? Not the mom, not the business owner.
Yeah, I think I'm like, this is going to sound so cliche, but it's literally connecting people. Like that is like at my core. I do it so innately, like it's literally in my like DNA. So I mean, the title of the podcast is The Serial Connector, and it could not be more true, because this is like so life-giving to me. I am like such a servant leader. I actually just took my human design this week.
Yeah. What are you?
I've never done it before. I'm a Manny Gen, whatever you say it. And I'm a 3-wing 2 on the Enneagram. And so I'm high achieving, but also a servant leader. And so I just really find so much fulfillment in creating connection for people. I asked my husband this question. I'm like, what's your favorite thing about me? And he's like, your willingness to serve others with no expectation in reverse.
That's so nice.
Edge sword. So
yes,
boundaries. Yep. We've been working on that. But I do think for me, it's like, creating connection for people, whether it's personally or professionally, is like my favorite thing. It's like kid in a candy store.
Yeah. What are you currently reading or listening to?
Ooh, I just bought 10X is better. Or no, 10X
is better than 2X.
Easier than 2X.
Yeah.
That is the book that I just bought recently. I've actually been like on a consumption freeze because I was consuming way too much and I was getting sidetracked from all the other things that I was working towards. And again, it just becomes really easy to be like squirreling out left and right. So since this summer, I've like kind of been on a consumption freeze for podcasts and books, but I literally yesterday just ordered 10x is easier than 2x.
Amazing.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you were to give a TED talk on nothing that you're known for, what would you give a talk on?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. On nothing that you're known for. I don't even know how to answer that question. I feel like I should ask you.
On nothing that I'm known for? You're going to throw this back at me?
Yes, I don't even know how to answer that question.
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like obviously I'm known for many things in the business world and entrepreneurship and courses and launching and digital marketing and all that. But I also feel like I'm very known for fitness and health because that's my background, and fashion. So I can't pick any of those things. So if I were to give a TED talk on nothing that I'm known for, probably interior design.
Ooh,
and just how like designing and decorating the space that you live in affects your mood and how you show up.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like one of the things that has been hard for me is that I did work so long in corporate and then pivoted later in life. I mean, I'm not like ancient, but like it was a restart later. And I feel like even at my age, was like, is it too late? Like to go to something new. And so I feel like a lot of that has been like permission to pivot, whether it's like within life, within parenting, within business or any of those things. I feel like that has been really huge. But I actually feel like if I had to speak about something, now that I say that out loud, I think I would speak about like the power of communication in marriage.
Cool.
Because cool. I feel like, I mean, and if my husband's listening, he would totally attest to this. We have learned a lot. I mean, we've been married for 14 years. Yeah. We have 3 kids, and men are not necessarily always like the most open communicators. Some are, but I feel like it's, a little bit more challenging or unnatural for them. And so I just have seen over the last 5 years, our marriage like absolutely transform with better communication. And so just like being able to see that firsthand and the impact that it can create. And, we were like good before, but we're like friggin' fire now. That's and awesome. Just like a night and day difference. So that would be kind of a cool topic to talk on too.
I love that. My other would be resilience. Okay, last question. You brought it up. You just said the word pivot. So we named the company Digital Business Evolution because we believe you're always evolving and growing. And I've really, in my own life, stopped using the word pivot. Instead, it's just an evolution because it's the next chapter. So I would love to know what your next personal or business evolution is.
So my going into 2024, I am really challenging myself to step into my higher calling, higher skill set, if you will, and not playing small, because I feel like, again, stumbled kind of messily into entrepreneurship. And so really allowing myself to, I've been calling it kind of like my bloom season, and just really unapologetically show up in the highest capacity and really not be scared about charging what I'm worth, and really showing up in a way that is really aligned and feels really good with how I'm serving and the value that I know it offers for people. So I've been really working towards starting to offer opportunities for people to connect in person around community through retreats. And like a higher level, not necessarily a continuation mastermind where it's like over a course of time, but more of like an immersive weekend retreat experience, because I have seen firsthand the impact that this can create for people. And I just know that I can create massive impact for people and see a gap in this space. And so that is what I'm doing. I burned my entire coaching business down in 2023 and built it from scratch. We are killing it. It is so, so good. And so now looking ahead, now that I'm seeing how much people are craving this, I'm like, okay, what can we do that's bigger and create better impact for people? So that is kind of my evolution. Community building expert.
I love it. I love it so much. Haley, thank you so much for being here. I'm like, I feel like we just started to get into it and we're just
like
getting to the juice, but I know you gave so many tactical, tangible pieces of information when it comes to building community. You gave steps to things to think about as a facilitator, as well as the community member. And of course, like an incredible free PDF, which I'm going to run and download. I can't wait to go do that. So I just appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you for being such a community builder where you really, truly do walk the walk that you talk, and you really do lift people up. And I'm so honored that I get to be one of those people inside of your community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Friends, if you love this episode, which I'm sure that you did, if you got something out of it, some little aha, some big aha, it would mean the world to Haley and I both if you took a screenshot, shared this episode out on social, tagged her at the Haley Westfall, tagged me at I am Jessica DeRose. Just let us know what a takeaway was, or just that you were even listening to the episode. That way, Haley and I can both personally reach out to you in the DMs, say thank you for listening, and connect with you on a human level. We would love that so much. Absolutely. And until next time, friends, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.